Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Season 1 of The Last of Us has come to a close, so this is going to be my spoiler review of Season 1, specifically the finale. Hey everyone, I'm Arjun Kokanda, and I love talking about movies, and I also talk about TV shows when I'm watching one that I'm really enjoying, and The Last of Us has definitely been one of those. I did a separate review talking about episodes 1 through 6, so if you want my detailed thoughts on those, you can check that video out. But in this video, I'm going to mainly focus on the finale and a little bit on some of the other episodes too. But it's mostly my review of the finale and the season as a whole, just kind of talking about what I thought of the season. Now, I'm not someone that has played the games, so I don't have extensive knowledge about what happens in the second game or how this leads to what happens in the second game and stuff like that. So this is just going to be a perspective of someone that has never played the games and went into this show completely blind. Now, if you notice something off about the video, it's because I'm not filming in an ideal situation. I don't have my desk, I don't have my chair, my family's moving right now. So I just put my phone on top of a bunch of books. So I'm not necessarily in an ideal situation. So if you do notice something weird, I'm sorry about that. But I'm gonna try my best to still make a good video. So yeah, with that said, comment down below what did you guys think of Season 1 of The Last of Us, and give me some context. Are you someone like me that has never played the games, or are you someone that has played the games and really enjoyed them? I'd love to know your thoughts. With that said, I'm going to get started talking about what I thought about The Last of Us. Now I'm going to share my quick thoughts on episodes 7 and 8, so that way you kind of have my thoughts on what I think of those. Because I only did my review of episodes 1 through 6. And episode 7 I thought was really good because it was kind of more information about what happened in Ellie's story. It wasn't the most important episode. I do think it's one of the weaker episodes of the show, maybe the weakest. But I think it did a good job of kind of giving us knowledge about what Ellie was like before her whole situation with Joel started. And I kind of like that because you get to see her with her friend and them actually having fun at the mall, and you get more information about her life. So I really enjoyed that. And then you see her that once they go to the mall, there's obviously an infected person there, and it attacks both of them. And this is when Ellie realizes that she's immune to it, and her friend unfortunately ends up dying because she shoots her because she gets infected. And I just thought that whole episode was just a very solid addition to the show, even though it doesn't change the story too much. It just gives you enough knowledge about Ellie to kind of care about her more. And I think this is where you started to feel that this is now starting to turn into Ellie's show, because before this it was about Joel. Also in episode 6 I just assumed that Joel died, but apparently that's not true. Apparently Joel didn't die. So in this episode you actually get to see Joel and Ellie trying to save him and stuff, which continues off into episode 8, which I think is probably the best episode of the show. Either that or episode 5. Episodes 5 and 8 are just amazing, spectacular episodes, two of the best episodes of TV I've honestly ever seen. I really enjoyed this whole story about this group of this town of people just being controlled by a Pastor David, and his whole character was just so good. Because at the beginning you kind of feel like maybe he's a good guy, at least as someone that has never played the game, I thought he might have been a good guy, but obviously what happens later in the episode just completely undermines that, and this guy is a horrible person. But I just like the way they built him up as a villain and made the audience kind of feel like maybe he's a good guy, maybe he's not. I heard that in the game that him and Ellie, when they're talking, there's an action scene. I would have loved to have seen that with the infected, where the infected are just battling the two of them. I think that could have been awesome, but that's just me because I like seeing more action. And in this show, we don't really get to see too much of the infected. We honestly didn't have a big action scene with the infected other than the one in episode 5. So I think we could have seen more of that. I think that could have been great. But honestly, it's not a big deal. It's just something that I wanted to see for fun. I also love the whole scene where Ellie's in a cage and the Pastor David, notices that she has a monster side inside of her. And when they're talking, it's just really emotional. And you see the reaction from Ellie because she kind of knows it's true, but she just doesn't want to admit it. So you kind of see that back and forth between the two of them. And I really appreciated that. And of course, it's revealed that he's a cannibal, and also at the end, he's a pedophile, which both of those things are just horrible. If you want to make a villain that the audience just hates, that's the perfect thing to do. And they did that. And I just thought it was a great reveal that this whole time he's been feeding his own people human beings. And there's also a girl there where she's probably eating her own father, which is just so gross to think about. But in that case, it also kind of raises the question of, in this case, where he's responsible for a whole town of people, is that really not, is that, like, I don't know, is that really such a bad thing to do? And it is, it's obviously being a cannibal is a bad thing. I'm not saying it's not, but in this show's context, as a worst case scenario, I'm just saying, like, I kind of understand where he was going with it. So I like the fact that the show raises questions that, even though you know they're bad, that they're not supposed to be doing those things, maybe there's a context in which maybe it's okay. So I'm not saying that being a cannibal is okay. It's just, in this show, they kind of present it in an interesting way that makes you think about that. And obviously the ending scene, the fight scene between Ellie and the pastor, that is probably my favorite scene of the entire show. It was just so emotional, so gut-wrenching, where and then he throws Ellie on the ground, and he's about to do something, you know what he's about to do. And when that happened, he also says a line which completely disgusted me, when he said, there's no fear in love, in front of a child. And like, just, he puts his hand down and you kind of have a hint in your head of what he's about to do. And it was horrible. Like, I couldn't deal with it. I almost like just stopped watching it because that just made me so uncomfortable. But then right after that, Ellie grabs a knife or machete or something, and then just starts hitting him in the head, which was so satisfying. I've never seen a villain death so satisfying, probably in my entire life. I found that so, like, when that happens, he deserves it, and you hate him. And I just really appreciated the fact that they built him up as this threat, and by the end of the episode, it was just so satisfying. And then after that, Ellie runs out and sees Joel, and he calls her baby girl, which he hasn't said to anyone or cared about anyone as much since his own daughter. And I just really appreciated the fact that they kind of went and did that, and it came full circle for Joel's arc, so I really appreciated that. And then you go into the finale, which I don't think is the best episode of the show. That's still 5 or 8, but it was still a great conclusion to the show, and I really appreciated what they were able to do and how they were able to conclude it in a satisfying way. I really like at the beginning of the episode when you kind of see how Joel and Ellie's bond has grown so much over the time that they've spent together. I really appreciated that. I think that's just so great to see, because obviously they started off in a situation where Joel was just forced to take Ellie with him, and he just saw her as cargo. But now that's kind of his own, like, kind of a representation of his own daughter in a way, because he has never cared about anyone like that. And you obviously see that later in the episode when he goes on to do something really bad. But yeah, I just really appreciated the fact that you get to spend some time with these two characters, just with themselves, kind of getting to know each other. Joel tells her to tell jokes and stuff. So I just thought that was really fun and a really enjoyable little scene and sequence that we get. And then there's also a scene where there's a giraffe, which made Ellie really happy. And you don't see that a lot in the show, where Ellie's happy, other than in the place where they were in the mall together. Other than in that episode, you don't really see Ellie being happy. So when she sees the giraffe and she's like really excited about it, that just puts a smile on your face. That just made me really happy that even in this world where The Last of Us is just so dark, there's still moments of hope, and that's what makes it really enjoyable. That's what I like about shows like this that are just so dark. There's things that there's still a chance of hope. There's still elements of hope going on, and you kind of want these characters to get that. Which is why I think scenes like this just really work well in a show like this that's so dark. But you get scenes where people are happy, and that just makes you smile. And I really appreciated this scene in this show. Alright, so I'm quickly recording this while editing the video because I forgot to talk about it. Another thing that Joel talks to Ellie about in this episode is that the person that shot him, that he talked about in one of the earlier episodes, was himself. So he tried to take his own life after his daughter died, which I think was just such a profound scene, because when he was talking to her about it, he also says that Ellie, or just implies that Ellie kind of took him out of that phase, and like, he's actually feeling better now, and he kind of got over it. And it's not because of time, it's because of Ellie. Ellie helped him get out of that place. So I also found that to be a very emotional scene, and I really liked it. And then after that, they get captured by the Fireflies, or Fedra. I don't know, I get the two of them confused. Maybe they're the same thing, I don't know. So they get captured, and Marlene takes them, and then you see Joel waking up, but we don't know where Ellie is exactly. And then he talks to Marlene. Marlene says the only way they can get a vaccine or a cure is by killing Ellie, basically, because at the beginning of the episode you see the scene where why exactly she's actually immune is because her mother was bit right before she was born, and the thing was just in her brain. So it just I don't know, I don't remember the exact explanation, but because she already kind of has it, whenever she gets infected, her body just assumes that it's already there, so nothing really happens to her, or something like that. That's what the explanation was. So because of that, Ellie is immune to the whole thing, and the only way they can find a cure using her is by killing her and taking the stuff out of her brain. And that is so nutty and so weird, because in that position, I don't know what I would do. If I was in Joel's position, what Joel did obviously was very much based off of love, because he loves Ellie now, and Ellie's basically like his daughter to him now, and he wants to save her. And I completely get that, but at the same time, is that the right thing to do? No, I think Marlene should have definitely given her a choice. But if she did end up giving Ellie a choice, Ellie would have probably taken it. She probably would have sacrificed herself to create a cure for this. But at the same time, she did not give her a choice. So it just puts you in a situation where you don't really know, there's no right or wrong answer in this case. The right thing to do, at least like the correct moral thing to do, is let her die so the rest of humanity can be saved. But Joel loves Ellie, so he goes after, he gets a gun and shoots everyone, and then there's just this big action scene. I wish we actually got to see the whole action scene. We really don't. It kind of montages through it. I would have loved to have seen a final fight kind of situation, but we don't really get that, which I was kind of disappointed by, honestly. That was one of the weaker aspects of this episode for me, even though I think this is a great episode. I do think it could have actually, if we actually saw the action scene, that could have been a lot more impactful when we see Joel just kill all these people to get to and save Ellie. There's also one person that dies in this episode that I know for a fact that is going to have repercussions in the second season or third season, however they split up the second game. But I've not played the game. I just know that because I saw other people's reviews, and they said there's some stuff that happens in the game that is affected because of one of the people that dies in this episode. So that's really cool. I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. Another thing that I just have a theory about is that something that happened in episode 8, where the whole town, maybe they're going to come back and have some sort of role in the next season. I think that could have been that could also be really interesting. I don't know if that's in the game. I don't want to know. It's just a theory that I'm making up in my head to see in the next season. Maybe that has something to do with it. And then after that, when Joel takes Ellie asks him if what he said about the Fireflies was true, because he lies to her about the whole situation. He tells her that it's true, but we all know that it's obviously not true. He lies to her that the Fireflies had a bunch of other people that were also not getting infected for some reason, which is not true. And then he also says raiders attacked the place, which is also not true. It's him who attacked it and killed everyone there. So that's such a nutty situation, because no one is really right. I mean, I guess the Fireflies were kind of right because they're trying to save the world, but Joel killed all of them, which is just so bad. That is such a immoral thing to do, but at the same time, he did it for Ellie, and he loves Ellie, and he can't lose another daughter. So I really love this episode. I love the fact that we get to see something like this, something so dark, actually take place in a TV show. And it kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger, but at the same time, it is a solid conclusion to the show, because it kind of pays off everything that they were building up. And obviously, Joel's and Ellie's relationship is now like confirmed, like they actually really love each other now. So I really like that too. A couple of things is the show as a whole that I wanted to talk about is I kind of wish we got to see more action scenes. There's not a lot of action in the show. It's not necessary, but I would have loved to have seen more of the infected and just some fight scenes with them, just to kind of have more momentum. Because as much as I love the story, it is a pretty fast moving show. It's just having action scenes here and there could have made some things more fun. And I know that in the second season, the directors or creators of the show said that there's going to be more action and more infected. So I'm very excited to see that. But in this season itself, I would have loved to see more scenes like the one in episode 5. And also, obviously, the action scene in the final episode. I think we could have actually seen the full action scene. I think that could have been really cool. But honestly, it's not a big deal. It's just a minor nitpick that I think that would have been really cool. I also think there's a couple of episodes in the show that, even though I think every episode is honestly a really, really good episode, it's just there's a couple of them that I don't think kind of are as good as some of the other ones are. Because like obviously episode 5 and episode 8 just set a really high bar. But most of them are around that 8 to 9 out of 10 range, where they're just really good, really great episodes. But I just don't think they're as good as obviously the bar that 5 and 8 set. But honestly, that's not a big deal because those two were just terrific episodes. But the rest of them are also really great. And this finale, I think, did a good job with bringing it to a satisfying conclusion. So I really enjoyed the show as a whole. This is one of the best first seasons, if not the best first season to a show I've ever seen. The only one I can compare it to really is Daredevil, which is my favorite show of all time. But honestly, if we're comparing just season 1s, I think Last of Us is even better. So honestly, I'm really loving this show. I cannot wait to see more of it. Hopefully we get to see more of it next year. I don't want to wait 2 years for a new season just because of how much I enjoyed it. So yeah, I really liked it. I want more shows like this, especially from Disney, because Disney is just, with the Marvel shows and stuff, they've not been doing a great job. So yeah, I really enjoyed The Last of Us. I think this season was great, and the finale really did a good job of bringing everything to a close. So I'm really glad I watched it, and I really enjoyed this season. If I had to give it a score, I'm probably gonna go like a 95%. I might bring it down to a 94, but right now I'm just really excited and really happy that I like this show as much as I did. So I'm going to 95, so it is a 5 out of 5 basically if I score it. If I score it on Letterboxd or something like that. So I really liked it, I really loved it. I'm so glad that the show turned out as great as it did, and I think the finale delivered. So those are my thoughts on Last of Us. Let me know down in the comments, what did you guys think of it? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.